Have you ever watched a child sit perfectly still, hands folded, eyes forward, and felt a swell of admiration? The quiet one, the good one. But what if that perfect silence isn't a sign of peace at all? What if it's the sound of a soul learning to hold its breath? This is the hidden pain of the obedient child. It's a story written not in outbursts, but in swallowed words. Not in slammed doors, but in ones that were never opened. It begins with a simple, devastating trade. A child offering up their authentic self, piece by piece, in exchange for a simple, fragile thing: approval. Think about the raw materials of a human being. Every child arrives with a riot of impulses: the urge to cry when hurt, to laugh from the belly, to run for the sheer joy of motion, to stubbornly say no when something feels wrong.
These are the colors of their soul. Now imagine those colors being gently, relentlessly corrected. The laughter is shushed for being too loud. The endless why questions are met with a weary sigh. The tears are an inconvenience. The resistance is met with withdrawal or disapproval. The child, incredibly perceptive, begins to map the territory of their world. They learn that certain parts of them are welcome, and other parts are not. So slowly, a bargain is struck. I will be quiet, so you will not be angry. I will be helpful, so you will smile. I will need nothing, so you will not find me burdensome. This is the birthplace of the hidden pain. It doesn't scream, it whispers. It hides behind a nod, a polite yes, a preemptive apology. Psychologists call the atmosphere that fosters this conditional positive regard. The love feels fragile, contingent, a prize for good behavior. They become masterful readers of rooms, tiny diplomats negotiating for their own emotional security. And while this looks like remarkable maturity, it is, in truth, a survival strategy. The child's inner monologue becomes a plea: if I can be good enough, maybe I will be loved enough. This pattern doesn't end in the childhood bedroom. It walks straight into adulthood, wearing a mask of competence. You see it in the friend who is always available to listen, but whose own struggles remain a mystery, locked behind a smile that never quite reaches their eyes. You see it in the employee who volunteers for the extra project while silently drowning, terrified that saying no will unravel the only identity they know, the reliable one. You see it in the partner who avoids any conflict, smoothing over disagreements before they even begin, their own desires dissolving like sugar in tea.
These are the adult faces of the obedient child. They are reliable, kind, and profoundly weary. The cost of all that early compliance is a fracture within. A human being is wired for expression, to question, to challenge, to desire. When those impulses are consistently suppressed, the self splits. An outer shell forms, polished, agreeable, convenient. Meanwhile, the inner self, the messy, creative, authentic core, goes mute. It's not destroyed, but it's exiled. Over years, the person may forget it's even there. They might achieve, they might please, they might be praised, yet feel a haunting emptiness that no external validation can fill. This is the paradox. We reward the behavior that hollows out the person. Let's sit with that emptiness for a moment. Why does it ache so deeply? Because obedience, when it's a survival tactic, requires the burial of authentic feeling.
Imagine a child who wants to paint the sky red and the grass purple, but is sternly handed a coloring book and told to stay within the lines. Imagine a child bursting with a question about the stars, but is told, not now, and the wonder in their eyes dims just a little. Imagine a child who feels a swell of sadness, but learns to smile because their sadness makes the adults in the room uncomfortable. The message is learned, and it's profound. Your true expression is not safe here.
Your instincts are wrong. So what does a child do with feelings that aren't safe? They bury them. But buried feelings are like seeds planted in darkness. They don't vanish. They grow into something else. That unexpressed sadness might later bloom as chronic anxiety, a free-floating fear with no clear source. That stifled anger might twist into rigid perfectionism, a desperate attempt to control everything in your environment, since you couldn't control your own voice. That buried joy might become a deep-seated belief that you don't deserve lightness, that your role is to be the shadow that makes others look brighter.
This creates a fascinating, painful loop. The obedient child grows into an adult who believes their worth is tied to performance, to helpfulness, to harmony. They follow the script perfectly, but life, inevitably, presents a moment where the script fails. You follow every rule at work and still get passed over for a promotion. You give endlessly in a relationship and still feel unseen. You remain the steady, quiet rock for your friends and still feel lonely in a crowd. These are the moments when the hidden pain cracks the surface. The foundation of "if I am good, I will be safe" begins to tremble. It's a terrifying revelation. The contract you signed in childhood might have been one-sided. You upheld your end, but the world didn't provide the lasting security it promised. This realization often surfaces not as righteous anger, but as a deep confusion, a soul-level fatigue, or a quiet crisis of meaning where everything you've built feels like a stage set.
And here is a crucial insight. Many who live with this pain don't consciously identify it. Obedience isn't a choice they make each day. It's the water they've always swum in. It feels natural. The act of silencing themselves is so automatic, they don't even hear the silence anymore. They may feel chronically tired, resentful without a clear cause, or feel like an imposter in their own life, but they rarely trace it back to the obedient child they once were. This pain is so hidden, it's often hidden from the person feeling it. Yet within this dynamic lies a stunning strength. The obedient child develops radar-like empathy. They learn to sense subtle shifts in mood, to anticipate needs, to hold space for others' emotions. These are profound gifts, the gifts of a sensitive soul. But the central question of their life becomes, can I use these gifts without sacrificing my own soul? Can I care for others without abandoning myself? Can I tend to the garden of others' feelings without starving my own?
Reclaiming that soul is the journey from obedience to authenticity. It begins with a gentle, frightening awareness, noticing the tightness in your chest when you automatically say yes, catching the ghost of an old feeling, resentment, longing, a spark of desire that you quickly smooth over. That awareness is the first crack of light in a sealed room. It's often followed by grief. Grief for the child who learned to play so small. Grief for the relationships where you were only half present, a pleasant ghost. Grief for the time lost. But this grief isn't an endpoint, it's a cleansing rain. It makes space. The next step is granting yourself a radical permission. Permission to rest when you're tired, not when your work is done. Permission to say no as a complete sentence, without a buffet of excuses. Permission to have a messy, inconvenient emotion and simply let it exist, without rushing to fix it or hide it. This is the act of reparenting yourself, whispering to the child within, you are allowed to take up space.
Your voice matters. This takes immense courage, because choosing authenticity can feel like betrayal. It might disappoint people who benefited from your compliance. It might disrupt the harmony you were taught to maintain at all costs. But the freedom on the other side is real. It's the freedom of discovering relationships that love your truth, not your performance. It's the freedom of pursuing work that aligns with your passion, not just your people-pleasing. It's the freedom of meeting your own needs, not just anticipating everyone else's. This shift isn't just personal, it's cultural. We live in a world that often rewards compliance, in schools, in workplaces, in families. But the most vibrant art, the bravest innovations, the deepest and healthiest relationships are born from authenticity. Every time someone heals their inner obedient child
and chooses to speak their truth, they make it a little safer for others to do the same.
They break a chain they never chose to wear. So, if you see yourself in this story, remember, your pain is real, but it is not your entirety. Beneath the layers of obedience is a resilient, sensitive, and powerful self. Your journey now is one of integration, bringing that empathetic, caring strength into alignment with your own voice and boundaries. True goodness isn't found in silent obedience, but in compassionate authenticity. And the final liberating truth is this: you are worthy of love, not because of what you do for others, but simply because you are. The obedient child learned to hold their breath, waiting for the world's permission to exhale. The authentic adult learns day by day to breathe freely again, discovering that the air itself was always theirs to claim.